In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from this to this. I got my CR in early 2021. Since then, I've put about 100 hours on it. Now it looks like this. If you stick around, you'll see why. I blow her up. But before then, I do need to clarify that this was not my first dirt bike per se. I did have a XR 650L, which served as my introduction to your typical motorcycle control schemes, such as using a clutch, twist throttle, and your brake layout. It wasn't like I was absolutely new to the concept of riding on two wheels. Additionally, I want to clarify that these 100 hours are not specific towards any type of riding. These hours might be me on a track or on trails or just dinking around in the yard like was common for me to do at my earlier stages of riding. For whatever reason, the very first thing I decided to do with my CR was take it out to the sand dunes in Silver Lake, Michigan. Now, I would not recommend taking a 125 with no paddle tire out to the sand dunes, but this was peak virus supply shortage times, and I could not get my hands on a paddle tire for the life of me. But we still made her happen, and surprisingly enough, that super loose sand wasn't too much for me to handle at a grand total of, I believe, 6 hours or something on the bike of experience. Riding on super loose sand like this is very different from any other type of dirt bike riding, and it's very hard, but once you get used to the initial shock of it, it works out alright. Now before we leave Silver Lake, let's take a look at this clip, specifically this frame. Coming into this jump phase here, let's look at my form here. Now, my back is arched terribly when it should be straight. My knees are raked forward. My knees should be above my foot pegs, not farther forward than that. I'm likely not squeezing the bike whatsoever. Also, my elbows are raked back and they appear to be fully straight back there. Just not great form, but this is where I was at this experience level, and this was also my biggest jump. Check it out. Moving on, there's going to be a lot of footage from my friend's really solid beginner track that I spent almost the majority of my time learning how to ride, jump, and corner my dirt bike on. So this footage would begin the next season of me riding my dirt bike. I basically did not record any track time here the previous year because anytime you're super new to something, you want to spend more time doing it than recording it. So finally I decided to start recording basically the first ride of the season here. A lot of progress here was unfilmed, but I'll let you see how I handled the bike at this time. Alright, so here's where my career takes a turn for the worst. I had a pretty mellow looking crash into a tree. Unfortunately, it took out my right scaphoid bone, so that's a really slow healing one. Just a fracture, basically a very slow healing combination right there. It took me out for 3.5 months, which, this being recorded at the end of May, that was a pretty brutal hit to my summer there. And more than anything, I was just really bummed because I was going to basically miss out on a season of riding. Alright, 3.5 months later, as you can see, we're back on the bike and I'm getting steezy with it. So, same track, pretty similar layout, just a few different changes, but I was starting to get my flow back a little bit. I was really just excited, you know, all things considered. I came back after my injury and I was back in the flow and I felt like I'd caught up to the skill level of my other two riding buddies. I'll just let this lap play out and then we'll compare it to some all new footage. this spot marks a big leap in our career. This was our first time at a legit track, or track open to the public. And it's not AMA or anything, but it's our first time being somewhere where there's multiple lines, wide open spaces, other riders to watch out for. Now, this was actually one of 3 tracks on location there. This is kind of the kiddie track. Now, I gotta admit, this wasn't actually our first time out. I didn't actually record the first time we showed up there, so in the timeline it's a little bit backwards, but I just want to show this location before I show the other location. But technically this and then the next track I'm going to show happened opposite of each other, so keep that in mind, I guess. After we rode that track that you just watched, the next weekend we jumped straight into this track, which is Meadow Valley MX, which is a practice track right next to the Millville Pro Nat Spring Creek track. So it was a pretty cool spot, practice only. Again, not AMA, no racing here. This track needed a little bit of an adjustment when we got into it. This is our first time seeing deep ruts. We've never rode ruts like that before. And also the acceleration and braking bumps have never been this magnitude. So this was definitely a little bit of a wake-up call. Also, this is a practice track, and at the moment they were not splitting practices at all. So it was every kind of rider riding the track. And this footage that I got was closer to the end of the day, but midday when we were just getting used to the track, it was packed, and it was Memorial Day weekend, so you guys can imagine how that was. And we are back to the site with the kiddie track. Now, initially I started riding this track without recording anything because I was just focused on getting through it. It felt super tough for us. It was a little loose in some sections and kind of packed in other sections. It was just tough to get used to, but these corners were a little technical for us. And well, after about 2 laps in, we kind of got the hang of it. So as soon as I turned the GoPro on, it kind of looked like we'd been riding it. It kind of looked like we've been riding it for a little while, but there's still some good mistakes caught in here, and it's a fun track. I love the corners in this track, but ultimately I do wish there were a few more jumps in this track, but the corners are super fun, and we've just been sessioning it.
Inside line, huh?
before we get to the last track of the day, I'm just gonna throw in all the crashes here.
Holy I'm such a silly goose for that one. Alright. Yeah, we're good. That was great. Why did I do that? That was a weird thing for me to do. I would rather if I didn't do that. However, that's not what happened.
All right, and we are back to Meadow Valley. This time it was Millville Pro Nat weekend. Super fun time. We spent the weekend out there camping on site there. They actually had riding till midnight both Friday and Saturday with some lights. It's a new tradition I think they're going to do every year. It was super awesome, kind of sketchy, but it was pretty fun. At this point, we got pretty decent confidence, starting to go into some deeper ruts and holding our own in them, and starting to get a little bit more comfortable. But here's where I hit my biggest jump up to date, and yeah, I've just been getting the most air I've ever seen so far. It's a pretty good track. As you can see, there's a brand new layout. This was pretty much brand new. As soon as we left, they got to work on this one, on this layout, and a little less beginner friendly in some spots, but overall it's still a pretty approachable track. It's a pretty good time. I love going out there. I'm not gonna spoil when, but sometime in this lap is gonna be the end for the old girl here. And I think the bike has 95 hours on the clock or something like that. I think the last top end rebuild was at 45 hours, so about 50 hours on this top end running 40-to-1 AMSOIL. I'm probably gonna kick that mixture up a little bit, but as you'll see in the teardown clip here, I'm not so sure the mixture was the problem. If you guys like this kind of video, let me know. It's definitely experimental, but you know, like, I've not been uploading anything MX to the channel. I just feel like everything independent of itself is not really worth a video. So I don't know if I should continue to make videos like structured like this, or if I should do independent days in themselves, or how I should structure my MX videos. But one thing is for sure, I do want my MX progression to be a part of my channel. So whatever happens, happens. I hope you guys will give me feedback on this video and see if you can guess when she's about to blow.
I blew her up. Blew her up. Whoa. I brought an extra piston, but we're about to leave in the next hour. Blew her up.
Blew the bike up?
Yeah. Nice, nice.
I'm doing it.
Okay, so this piston has about 50 hours on it, 40-to-1, and she went. So looking at the skirts, it's not terrible. I don't really think the piston wear was the problem. This was some catastrophic failure. Now, as you can see, the trunk got lodged here, and I don't know if it came off the piston or what. I don't know. You know, what are we looking at here? Is this too lean? Is not enough carbon on there? Even this side of the piston, which got all the heat, doesn't look too terrible. The head has got a bunch of scarring, so I think this is toast. Spark plug is intact. There's no piece missing. The cylinder is done for. You can see massive, massive groove.